Welcome to Round Glass today. I'm Vishvapani Blomfield and thank you so much for joining me in this session and my series on the qualities of awareness. And in today's practice, we'll explore how we can let go of expectations and come fresh to our experience in this moment with a sense of curiosity. So what one word comes to mind when you think of the experience of being really present and aware? I'd love to hear from you. So please share your word in the chat. Okay, so I want to thank everyone. I see words like vivid, heightened, visceral, that's good, that's a good one, and quiet, peace, engaged. Okay, so these are the words that come to mind when we think about being really present and aware. So here, let me just tell you a story. This is something that happened quite a while ago, but it really struck in my mind. This little incident, sitting in a cafe with my friend David, who is a painter, as it happens, and he said, "Now look, there's something behind you to look at." So I glanced across and I just saw an old woman eating her soup. But my friend David leaned forward and she said, "She's like a Rembrandt." So I looked again and I noticed her concentration. She was very old, and her body was quite shrunk, and every movement she made was a painful effort. So very, very slowly, she raised the spoon from the bowl to her mouth. As she did so, her face was creased into a web of lines. And it was as if all that existed for her was this moment of eating. And it was such a beautiful moment. Her clothes were plain and black, and they kind of outlined her against the wall, and the light, I remember it seemed to hover, just framing her image. So I said to my friend, "I wish I had a camera." And he said, no, it's perfect as it is. You don't have to make a picture out of it." So I looked again and I saw that he was right. It was the woman's dignity and a perfect moment. And I realized that if I'd sat alone in the cafe, I probably wouldn't have noticed that woman at all. So my friend, being an artist, he showed me how to look, showed me how to see what was extraordinary and unique and beautiful in that moment. And those things exist in each moment of our lives. But we have to let go of the grasping mind. So this is evoking the quality of mindfulness or awareness, which really means being present. And it's the most fundamental part of meditation. I mean, you could say, in fact, it's the most fundamental part of being alive. Whatever technique we use in meditation, the basic practice is just sitting and being aware. It's just so simple. You think there must be a catch, but no, that really is it. The complications come from our minds. The practice is simple, but our minds are complicated. We like stimulation. So just sitting still, well, maybe that seems boring. Or we sit still, but then our body is still, but we fill up the space with all sorts of thoughts. So these are the challenges when we do a meditation practice, and we need help. So one thing that helps is the breath and the sensations of the body. But there's also the attitude we bring. And what my friend in the cafe encouraged me to do was to have the faith that actually this moment is enough. Just paying attention to this moment will bring rewards. And you could call that quality the quality of curiosity, or what Zen Buddhists call beginner's mind. It means coming to the moment fresh. So in that spirit, today I'll mostly guide the practice by asking questions. And the questions are asking you to look into your experience freshly and with curiosity. So these questions aren't things to think about. The answer might be a sense or an intuition or a feeling in the body. Okay? So let's get going. Let's decide how we want to sit for the practice. Comfortable but alert. So if you're used to meditation, perhaps you have a way that you usually sit. So I notice a lot of other people do this. Okay, so that's one way to sit. It's not a bad way to sit. But is that what's right for you today? So how does your body want to be right now? So I've been talking about sitting, but maybe you'd be better off standing or lying down. Or you could move a little, rolling your shoulders, stretching a little. So maybe just have a feel, just sense, is there a movement that feels right for your body? Okay, just take a stretch if you want to, whatever you like. And whatever you decide, noticing how it feels. Deciding how you want to relate to the screen, whether the eyes will be open or closed. All of these are choices. There's no right or wrong. Just bringing curiosity as we set up for the practice. So settling in and bringing awareness. So what do we notice when we bring awareness to this moment? So that's quite a broad question. Let's make it a little bit more focused, a little bit narrower. What do we notice in the body? And that's still quite broad. So what sensations are vivid? Where do we feel the body in contact with the floor or the seat? Because that's a source of stimulation to the sense of touch. Maybe noticing the hands. What they touch. Temperature. So all the sensations of touch come to us through the skin. And that internal sense of the body. And some of these sensations may be changing as the breath flows in and out, as the heart beats, as the blood pulses. But hearing, listening, what do we hear? So just letting the sounds come to us, just being receptive like a microphone. Loud sounds and quiet ones, high-pitched sounds and low-pitched sounds, all the different sounds. Just attending to the sounds, slightly different from naming or labeling or identifying sounds. So just listening. So even if we have our eyes closed, we can just attend to the sense of sight. You could just slightly open your eyes and let in the light, or you could keep your eyes closed. Either way, just attending to the visual sensations. Not looking all around, just noticing things like colours, shapes, contrasts. Or if your eyes are closed, then maybe the strange play of light through the eyelid. So, how about the other senses? Well, there's smell. And just take our attention to smell. What do we smell? And, our sense of smell maybe isn't as acute as the other senses, but just noticing. And taste is the last one. So any taste. So these are the physical senses, but there's also our perceptions and the other aspects of our experience. One of those is emotional tone. So as we sit, as we settle, there's probably just some kind of emotional quality, maybe a neutral quality, or maybe a little bit of some emotion or other, maybe more. So what is that emotional tone? Any tension? and how we experience that emotional quality. Is there something in the body that feels heavy or light, or tense or expansive? How do we know what we're feeling? So now, bringing our awareness to our thoughts. So the starting point is just noticing if, as we've been sitting here, certain thoughts or images, ideas, niggles, preoccupations, noticing if those things have been our companions. And of course, it's completely normal if that is the case. Just noticing what our mind has been doing. Noticing. And noticing how we get caught up in those thoughts. They call to us, they seem like they're interesting. And noticing when we let those thoughts go, we don't get attached to them. Just noticing what happens then. Do the thoughts keep coming? And if so, do they come from a particular direction? Do we see thoughts? Do we hear them? Are they words? So now broadening our awareness to notice our experience as a whole. The whole of our experience. Just holding our experience in our awareness. So in doing this, it helps to have a central point. So we can just let the mind settle on the breath. Again, bringing a sense of curiosity, interest, and freshness as we notice these sensations. Body moving with the breath. Noticing any changes. How our thoughts change, feelings change, our sensations change. And what helps us to settle more fully? Where should I place my attention to foster a sense of settling? So sitting, resting with the whole of our experience. And how can we stay fresh, stay aware? Perhaps it's the changes, for example, in the sensations of the breath. Perhaps it's a deeper interest and engagement with our energy or our emotional experience. And starting now to move towards the ending. And again, just asking about this transition, just noticing what it involves. Shift in attention, maybe. So what helps us to move our attention from being very focused inwardly to being more outwardly focused? Maybe moving the body. Maybe rolling the shoulders. Just noticing how that feels. So with all of these stages of the meditation, we can just bring curiosity, and being led in meditation is one thing, but really knowing what that feels like for ourselves, the process of going into and emerging as we bring the practice to a close. So let's just take a few minutes now to absorb the practice, and just noticing what was vivid for you. And there were lots of questions there. So how was it to explore in that way? Did you notice the mind's habits coming in? What happened with that? And how does it feel now we've finished? So was there a sense of curiosity during the practice? And how about now? Are we still curious? Or has everything gone back to normal? Anyway, whatever happened, just notice what today's practice left you with. So curiosity is really close to the heart of mindfulness or awareness. So, we all have a lot of habits, and actually they serve a useful function. But when we're in a habit, we're not really in beginner's mind, we could say. So one thing we can do is try just changing the habit. So even something as simple as sitting in a different chair. You know, that can just make a difference to our experience as a whole. So we need habits, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's good to disrupt them as well. What about other habits? You know, so sitting in a different chair is an obvious one, but what about our habits of communicating? So I notice that I've got not just got one habit of communicating, I've got a whole range. There are certain ways that I talk to certain people, certain ways I listen to certain people. And again, that's all right, but are we just repeating ourselves? So we can just notice all of this. We can notice our experience directly, whether or not we have habits in relation to walking or eating. So how is it to bring curiosity to these things? And then there are certain things which are very associated with habits, like technology, phones and things like that, which are really kind of designed to foster a habit. And then internally, you know, we all have certain mental habits, certain preoccupations, certain traits, certain ways of thinking. Now, our minds like to go down the same paths, and you know, the brains are kind of constructed like that. But what we're doing in meditation is noticing that. So we can do that in meditation, but we can also do that at any time of the day. You know, curiosity lets us notice our surroundings, nature, the sky. You know, it's always there, but you need to look. You need to be curious. Just something as simple as the contents of a room. You know, maybe your living room, your bedroom. And there are probably objects there that you just haven't looked at for ages. I mean, I'm sure there are in my room. So that can be really interesting. Just revisit, you know, the painting on the wall that's been a familiar part of your life. Just have a look at it. So I want to finish with a story that comes from China, which beautifully illustrates these qualities that we've been talking about. So it tells of an apprentice who asked his master to teach him to paint bamboos. And the master told him that he didn't need new painting techniques. What he needed to do was to learn to see bamboos. So the apprentice looked at bamboos. He looked at them in sunlight and in shade, at dawn and in the evening, in the gardens and in the wild, in the mist, the rain and the moonlight. And he did this year after year. And after all of those years of preparation, he prepared his materials and then he produced his first painting in a few brushstrokes. So this is a famous story, and there's a poem that celebrates it. When Wen Tong painted bamboo, he saw bamboo and not himself. His body was transferred into the bamboo, creating inexhaustible freshness. So thank you for sharing this time together, and please continue to explore meditation with us. Check out our daily live meditations at round.glass or on our app. And thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good day and stay curious.